water from industries. Wastewater is treated from industries by the hydrodynamic cavitation method. Then we come to the acoustic cavitation. Acoustic cavitation is nothing but the cavitation caused by ultrasound. So ultrasound is responsible for causing the acoustic cavitation. Now, what are the means for production of ultrasound and what is ultrasound? That we will see. Now, the ultrasound is defined as the sound waves with frequencies higher than the upper audible limit of human hearing. Upper audible limit of human hearing. Now, the human hearing varies from person to person. There is no such set limit for any person that a particular, or for humans, that humans will be able to hear this particular frequency. So the frequency varies from person to person, and it is approximately 20 kilohertz, that is 20,000 hertz. That is the approximate frequency which is possible in case of human beings. So it depends and it varies from person to person, but approximate frequency is 20 kilohertz or 20,000 hertz. And in young people, the frequency will be 20,000 hertz, and in case of older people, the frequency may vary. So it depends on the age of the person, and if the age is higher, then audibility reduces. We all know that the audibility is subject to age of a person, and as the age of a person goes on increasing, the audibility of the person goes on decreasing. Now, in animals also, the animals like bats, then sharks, not sharks, whales, they are able to produce ultrasound. And the ultrasound is produced by bats and sharks, and they communicate with each other by means of ultrasound. They use ultrasound for communicating with each other. One whale will communicate with other whale by means of the ultrasound. Now, ultrasound is used in many different fields. There are a number of fields, including there is a long list of applications and uses of ultrasound in different industries also, and different applications also. So first we will go through the mechanisms which produce the ultrasound. Now this is a picture of an ultrasonic bath which is used for producing ultrasound. The ultrasonic bath is often used for cleaning of the apparatus which is used by doctors for performing operations, or apparatus which is used by the dentist for performing the dental functions or the functions of a dentist. So these require often cleaning because the organics, they get attached into these instruments, and these instruments, surgical instruments, need to be cleaned frequently, and there should be no contamination in the surgical instruments. That is why these instruments need to be cleaned frequently, and for frequent cleaning of the instruments, either sterilization method is used or the ultrasonic bath is used for cleaning of the instruments. In the case of sterilization, we require an autoclave for sterilization process, and when we use the autoclave for sterilization, then the autoclave requires certain temperature and pressure. That means it is an energy intensive process. When you use an autoclave, it requires certain temperature and certain pressure. So it is a energy intensive process which requires higher amount of energy, and that is why and frequent autoclaving is not possible, because along with autoclaving also comes the maintenance of the autoclave. In an autoclave, you have to put the water, and after putting the water, you have to put the instruments into the autoclave and then tighten the lid and then perform the function of autoclaving. So autoclaving is a bit tedious process, and this process can be avoided by using a ultrasonic bath. So many times nowadays, the ultrasonic baths are utilized for purpose of sterilization or for purpose of cleaning of the medical instruments which are used for surgical purpose or which are used for dentistry. So these instruments can be cleaned by the ultrasonic bath. Now, in case of autoclaving, we are having a number of tedious jobs to be performed for autoclaving of the instruments. In case of the ultrasonic bath is a simple device which has got a number of transducers mounted at the bottom of the ultrasonic bath. And these transducers, they perform the function of producing the cavitation bubbles into the ultrasonic bath. So you simply have to place the ultrasonic bath, and after placing the ultrasonic bath, you add the medium. The medium may be water. You add the water to the ultrasonic bath, and you place the instruments which are to be cleaned or which are to be sterilized into the ultrasonic bath, and you just sonicate at the desired amplitude, and the frequency is fixed. You can vary the amplitude. You sonicate the ultrasonic bath at the desired amplitude for the desired time, whatever time you require, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes. You sonicate the ultrasonic bath for the desired time. And after that time has been reached, you shut down the ultrasonic bath. So after observation, you will find out most of the medical instruments, they have been cleaned. Now there is no procedure of checking whether the decontamination of microorganisms has taken place or not in case of the ultrasonic bath. So decontamination cannot be measured, or there is no procedure of checking for decontamination of the ultrasonic bath. Then the next instrument for producing the ultrasound is the ultrasonic horn. Now, whatever instruments I am showing you, these are laboratory instruments. Besides these instruments, there are industrial scale instruments also, which are used in industries. These are the laboratory scale instruments which I am showing you. Now, this is the ultrasonic horn, which is having different components. I will come to the components of the ultrasonic horn later on. And this is the ultrasonic horn, which is used for sonication of small quantities of liquid or test samples which can be sonicated. If you mount this ultrasonic horn inline in a pipeline, then continuous sonication is also possible. For continuous sonication, you have to fit this ultrasonic horn into the pipeline so that continuous sonication of the pipeline liquid can take place. So sonication is not a batch process. It can be practiced on continuous basis also, provided the arrangement is made for that purpose. the provision should be made or arrangement should be made for continuous sonication. Now, this figure or this picture represents direct sonication. You see the ultrasonic horn is immersed directly into the liquid which is to be sonicated. So this is called as direct sonication. When the horn is immersed directly into the liquid which is to be sonicated, then it is called as the direct sonication method. Then indirect sonication. In indirect sonication, we have the sonication probe, which is indirectly transmitting its power to the test tube like glass containers in which the liquid to be sonicated is kept. Now, in this case, there are a number of test tube like glass sample containers, and you can sonicate a number of containers at one single time. That is 8 to 10 containers are there, and all those containers can be sonicated by a single probe at the same time. So there are different forms of probe. Multiple probes are also there. Then by two probes system is also there. Dual probe system is also there. Multiple probe system is also there. Of course, the efficiency will vary with the type of probe you are using. So it depends on the purpose and application for which you are using the sonication process, and because it depends on the purpose for which you are using the sonication process, the probe may be selected according to your purpose. So there is a selection criteria for the probes depending on the application or depending on the purpose for which you are using the probe. And the probe is responsible for transmission of all the energy into the liquid. How the probe transfers energy into the liquid, that we will be dealing in a few seconds. Now, this is a probe where the glass containers are subjected to vibrations on a single probe. 8 to 10 containers are there which are vibrated by a single probe. Now, as I have told you, the cavitation process is nothing but formation of bubbles. In hydrodynamic cavitation, we see that the bubbles are formed because of the venturi or the orifice. Now, in case of the sonication process, the bubbles are formed because of the sonication probe. The sonication probe is responsible for formation of the bubbles into the liquid being cavitated or liquid being sonicated. So the bubbles, they are responsible for the sonication of the liquid and bringing in about the transformation into the liquid. The probe is responsible for formation of bubbles. Now the probe has an instrument called as the transducer. The transducer acts as a generator in case of the probe, and the generator is having a piezoelectric element. The piezoelectric element was discovered by Curie, and that particular instrument, after its discovery, is being used as generator in the ultrasonics. So the discovery of piezoelectric element goes to the Curies, and after the discovery of piezoelectric element, the sonication or ultrasonics has gained importance, because the piezoelectric element is responsible for conversion of the electrical signals into mechanical signals. The piezoelectric element receives the electrical signals from the power supply unit, and it converts those electrical signals into mechanical signals, and that mechanical signal is transmitted by the probe into the liquid which is being cavitated. And because of that mechanical energy into the liquid which is being cavitated, the bubbles begin to form around the probe. The small bubbles, they begin to form around the probe, and these bubbles eventually, after formation, grow in size, and then finally they implode or burst. These bubbles finally implode or burst. Now the temperature in these bubbles is around 5000 K, and atmosphere is around 500 bars. So very high temperature and very high pressure is generated by these bubbles. And this very high temperature and very high pressure is responsible for the changes which are brought into the cavitated liquid by the sonication element or the sonication probe. So that is why the bubbles which are formed, they are responsible for the cavitation or transformation into the liquid or medium which is being sonicated. Now these are the components of a sonication system. A sonication system consists of the following components. It has an amplitude adjustment unit, then it has a power supply and settings unit, then it has an ultrasonic horn. The ultrasonic horn also houses the transducer. So the transducer is attached with the ultrasonic horn. Then a separate temperature probe is there so that you can check the temperature of the sample which is being sonicated. In case the process is temperature sensitive process, then you can control the temperature by means of external cooling. You may provide cooling jets around the sample which is being sonicated, and you may circulate cooling fluid through the reaction vessel where the reaction is taking place, and you can remove the heat from the reaction zone by using the fluid, some kind of fluid which is say good in heat transfer. So that fluid may be used. Often water is used for removal of heat, but depending on the sensitivity of heat, you may use different liquids or different fluids also. Now here is the amplitude adjustment unit. Now in this particular unit, you can adjust the amplitude from 0 to 100. So the amplitude variation varies from 0 to 100. In some units, you may find that the amplitude variation is between 25, 50, 75, like that you may get, or you may get a specially designed unit in which you may have the amplitude variation from 10, 20, 30, like that onwards up to 100. So this is a specially designed unit in which the amplitude variation is from 0 to 100. So the amplitude is responsible for the for the transmission of power into the liquid being cavitated. At lower amplitudes, you will have lower energy being transmitted into the cavitation liquid. At higher amplitudes, you will find that higher amount of energy is transmitted into the liquid being cavitated. So the energy transferred into the liquid being cavitated depends upon the amplitude which is there, or amplitude at which the equipment is set. If you want higher transformation rate, then the amplitude should be towards the higher side. If you want lower transfer rate, then the amplitude should be towards the lower side. Then the second component of the system is the power supply unit. The power supply unit is also responsible for giving you the idea about the load being exerted on the machine due to the cavitation process. Now the load can be seen in the left part of the picture where a pointer is there. The pointer is shown there. The pointer shows the load on the sonication probe, and it is directly proportional to the viscosity of the liquid which is being sonicated. For low viscosity liquids, the load will be much lower. For high viscosity liquids, the load will be much higher. So you can know whether the liquid you are sonicating is highly viscous or viscous. The which is shown by the pointer, and in the left side of the picture, load which is exerted on the sonication probe because of the viscosity of the liquid which is being cavitated. Now in this picture you see the control panel is there. In the control panel you see the controls are given, and you can see the controls. The time is given. That means you can control the sonication time. Then the sonication mode can also be controlled, whether you want continuous sonication or you want pulse sonication. In case of continuous sonication, the sonication probe will vibrate continuously for the stipulated time. Say if you have given a time of 5 minutes for sonication, then the probe will vibrate continuously for 5 minutes and it will stop after 5 minutes have been completed. So there is the setting for time, and you have to set the time for which the sonication probe has to vibrate. Then there is the control for giving a gap between sonication. That is the start, stop, start option is there. This we call as the pulsed sonication, in which start, stop, start option is there. So if you give a pulse of 2 seconds, 3 seconds between the continuous sonication, then the machine will stop for 3 seconds and again it will restart after 3 seconds. So if you are giving, say, a total time of 10 minutes to the machine, and after 2-2 minute interval you are giving a pulse of 3 seconds, then after each 2 minutes for 3 seconds the machine will stop and it will restart again. So that is called as pulsed sonication. And after pulse sonication, you have got the setting for starting of the machine, then stopping of the machine setting is also there. So these are the different controls which are available with us when we start the sonication process with a sonication probe. Now this is the ultrasonic horn. You see in the lower bottom portion, the cylindrical portion is there, and in the cylindrical portion that we call as the probe body. That cylindrical portion is called as the probe body, whereas in the top portion where the wires are seen, immediately below the wires there is the transducer. So that transducer which is responsible for production of the conversion of the electrical energy into mechanical energy is housed in that particular region just below the wires. Now how the transducer looks. Now this is the transducer. This is the transducer which is responsible for conversion of electrical energy into the mechanical energy. Now the transducers, they are sensitive to load. That means you cannot put highly viscous liquids into the cavitation zone. That means where you are cavitating the sample, that means immediately adjoining to the probe, you should not keep very highly viscous liquids, because sometimes there is short circuiting of the transducer because of the load. So as far as possible, the load check should be there, and it should be checked that excess load is not there on the machine. Otherwise the transducer may blow off because of excess load on the machine. So proper care should be taken while cavitating the liquid. While taking care, you should also take care that the temperature probe is also inserted into the liquid, and care should also be taken whether while handling of the cavitation liquid, it should not be a flammable liquid, because high temperatures are generated during the process of cavitation because of the implosion of microbubbles into the liquid being cavitated. Now the parameters affecting the process of sonication. First parameter is the amplitude of sonication. Amplitude of sonication can be controlled, as I have told you, from the amplitude adjustment unit. From there you can control the amplitude. So lower the amplitude, lower will be the transfer of energy into the liquid being cavitated. So if you want to have higher transformation into the liquid, then the amplitude should be towards the higher side. If you want lower transformation into the liquid, then you should keep the amplitude towards the minimum. Now, if you want to perform series of experiments at different amplitudes, then you should adjust the amplitudes at different positions. And by adjusting amplitude at different positions, you can perform different experiments. I will tell you later on. Now, the second factor which is affecting the process of sonication is the viscosity of medium which is being sonicated. As I have told you earlier, that the viscosity is the cause of load to the transducer or to the sonication probe, because viscosity will make the movement of probe restricted. The probe will not be able to vibrate freely when highly viscous medium is there. So the viscosity of medium will affect the movement of the probe into the liquid or medium which is being sonicated, and it will be a cause of load on the transducer. So viscosity is another factor. Then the third factor is effect of applied frequency. You get the sonication instruments with different frequencies. 20 kHz frequency is most common frequency. Then you can get higher frequencies also, 30, 40 in the increasing order. Higher frequencies are also possible. So depending on the frequency, the cavitation process will depend on the frequency of the cavitation instrument. The cavitation instrument, higher the frequency, higher will be the transformation. Then temperature of medium, temperature and viscosity, they are interrelated. So higher the temperature, lesser will be the viscosity. So as the temperature of medium increases, the viscosity of medium will go on decreasing. So initially, if there is load shown by the meter, then gradually after some time, because of the higher temperature into the medium, the viscosity will go on reducing, and after some time the load will be reduced on the transducer and it will be shown by the meter. You can verify these facts while you are performing the experiments with the sonication instrument. Then these are the parameters which can be controlled. As I have told you, there are adjustments of amplitude. Then second adjustment of sonication time is there. Then third adjustment of pulse setting is there. Then fourth adjustment of temperature is there. If you want to cut off the system at particular temperature, then you give the set point for temperature to the system. Then at that particular temperature, the system will automatically cut off. It will stop working at that particular temperature. Suppose you are dealing with a flammable liquid and which is having a boiling point at say 80 degrees, and you want that temperature to be controlled at 75 degrees, then you give a set point at 75 degrees. Then after 75, the temperature will not increase and the machine will stop working when it attains the temperature of 75. So you can give the temperature set point while dealing with hazardous liquids or hazardous substances, and you can control the temperature. Then operation of sonicator can be done as mentioned below. So while operating the sonicator, you may start with the first adjusting the amplitude from the stabilizer, come amplitude adjuster, and adjust the amplitude. Then secondly, adjust the sonication time on the control panel. Then thirdly, decide the mode of sonication, whether you want to have the pulse sonication mode or you want to have the continuous sonication mode. You decide about that, whether you want to have the pulse sonication or continuous sonication, and accordingly you set the mode into the control panel. Then fourthly, if you want the particular temperature, then that particular temperature should be set into the machine so that the machine cuts off at the right time, so that whenever you require to cut off the machine, that cutoff will take place at the right time, and there is no hazard while you are working with the machine. Now the conversion is given over here, and the overall efficiency of the process is 80 to 90%. So I will show you with a case study that the overall efficiency is there. You are getting up to 90% efficiency is there in case of sonication process. In generator, it is greater than 90% conversion. If you give 100% power input, then greater than 90% conversion is there in the generator, that means in the transducer, and then 90% power conversion is there in the transducer, and finally into the liquid greater than 81%. Now this is the power supply unit where 90% power conversion is there. Generator, it is referred as the power supply unit, and transducer over here, it is 90% power conversion, and finally into the liquid there is 81% power conversion into the liquid. So you can rate the process on the basis of this conversion you are getting into the unit. Now this is the ultrasound chemistry, and from the chemistry you see that HOH radicals are being formed, then H2O2 is being formed, and it is one of the strongest oxidants, and that oxidant again converting into OH radical. So it is the HOH radicals which are primarily responsible for conversion or transformation of different materials into the reaction zone. So say if you are sonicating some wastewater, then the oxidation of the wastewater will take place because of these radicals which are being formed into the water because of the sonolysis of water, and due to which, because of the sonolysis of water, again these radicals will transform the materials present in the wastewater. Now the applications of ultrasound, I have listed them industry wise. Now this is not the complete list of industries where the applications of ultrasound are there. I have picked up some industries and given the examples from these industries. So first industry is the chemical industry or chemical process industry. Then second industry is the food industry. Then third industry is the water industry. Fourth industry is the fuel industry. Then fifth industry is the metal industry. Then sixth industry is the paint industry. Then sixth is the nanomaterials industry. So we will go through the applications one by one in each of these industries, and some one or two case studies I've got. So we'll be going through the case studies also where we have applied sonication and got some kind of transformation. So the applications of sonication in chemical process industries. The process of sonication is used in chemical industry for the following reasons. So the reasons are to increase the reaction speed or rate of reaction, as we call. The rate of reaction can be increased by the process of sonication. Then secondly, increase in the yield. You can also increase the yield. That means the sonication process performs the function of optimizing the parameters so that the yield in the process increases. So we get the optimization of parameters where the yield increases. Then the third is the activation of metals and solids. Metals and solids can be activated by using the process of sonication. Then increase in the reactivity of reagents or catalyst. The catalyst activity can be increased by use of ultrasound. The activity of the catalyst can be increased because ultrasound is having high pressure and high temperature. So catalysts which are not working at say room temperature properly may work at higher temperature and pressure, and that is why there will be increase in the reactivity of the catalyst. Some points I will be discussing as we go through the processes. Now the next point which is used or the application in chemical process industry, we are using the process of homogenization. The ultrasonic homogenization process is used in industries where there is the requirement for particles to be dispersed in another phase, say dispersion of solid in liquids. So the dispersion of solids in liquids, like in the form of a paste. If you are using a paste, then you can produce a paste with a highly homogenized particle size if you use ultrasound. If you use ultrasound, then the particles, solid particles in that paste will have very uniform size because of the use of ultrasonication process. Because ultrasonication does not only homogenize, it also reduces the particle size. And after reduction, size reduction, the particles will gain a uniform size and the paste will be almost homogenized because of the process of sonication. The paste will be homogenized. Then the second application, ultrasonic homogenizing, where ultrasonic homogenizing is dispersing and deagglomeration. Take for instance, if you are adding some kind of material into water, say for example, if you are adding alum to the muddy water, then the alum needs to be dispersed properly into the muddy water so that the alum gives out the precipitate properly and it is able to arrest all the colloidal material which is present in the water. So one simple thing you can do is sonicate the water to which you are adding the alum. You can simply stir also, and after stirring also you can get the result, but you can check both the results, the result after stirring and result after ultrasonication. So you will find that the result you gain after ultrasonic treatment is much better because there is the dispersion of solids. I told you it is the muddy water, so it is containing mud. So when you disperse the mud by means of ultrasonic treatment, then the mud particles, they will gain uniform size and they will be all of the same size and they will be discrete. Deagglomeration will also take place, so they will be discrete, and that alum will mix properly and due to which you will find better coagulation in case of ultrasonication rather than in case of the simple stirring method. We can simply stir also, and you can, after simply stirring, you can place the water for some time and you can observe the flock formation in the beaker. And if you observe the flock formation in the beaker, you will find that the liquid which you have ultrasonicated, it will be more clear than the liquid which you have not sonicated. It is because the particles in the sonicated liquid have uniform size and they have de-agglomerated, they have become uniform, and they are discrete particles, they are separate particles. And that is why there will be more flock formation in case of sonication process than in case of simple stirring method. So this is the difference when we apply sonication to a process and get the benefit of sonication in the process. Then the next application of ultrasonics in chemical process industry is the emulsification process. Emulsification process is widely used in cosmetics, skin lotions, pharmaceuticals, ointments, varnishes, paints, lubricants. Fuels are based wholly or in part of emulsions. And what are emulsions? Emulsions are dispersions of two or more immiscible liquids. So, in a way, you can say sonication is responsible to bring together two immiscible liquids. So, if you have two immiscible liquids, like we say, you take phenol in a test tube and some oil, petro oil, in the same test tube, then you will have two different layers. Sorry, phenol, you take aniline in a test tube and you take some oil, petro oil in a test tube, and if you sonicate, you will find that the immiscible liquids, they will mix together. Why? Because of the process of sonication. But if you want to bring these immiscible liquids together without sonication, then you have to heat these liquids in a water bath. And after heating these liquids in a water bath up to a temperature of 80-85 degrees, you will find that these liquids mix together. So that we call as the aniline point. So in aniline point, we are mixing two different immiscible liquids at higher temperature. But if you simply sonicate these two different liquids by means of a sonication probe, then you will be able to calculate the aniline point, and within a short span of time. With a sonicator, you will be able to produce the same effect within 10 minutes. Whereas in case of water bath, you will almost require 1.5 hours to produce the same effect. So this is the process intensification achieved by the process of ultrasonication. So you can achieve process intensification by the process of ultrasonication. And similarly, in this case, we are having two immiscible liquids which can be mixed together by means of ultrasonication, and you can produce the single or continuous phase, because the immiscible liquids, they will be dispersed because of the cavitation bubbles caused into the liquid. The next is ultrasonic milling and grinding. So as I have told you that ultrasonication can be used for purpose of size reduction. In case of size reduction machines like the hammer mills, we are having large chunks reduced to smaller chunks. Now, in case of ultrasonic grinding, we can reduce the size of powders. If you are having a powder, then that powder can be reduced in size. Or if you are having a solution dispersed with some solid, then the solid size in that particular solution can be reduced by means of ultrasonic sound. That we call as the grinding. So ultrasonication is an efficient means for wet milling and micro grinding. This is not exact grinding, it is micro grinding because the particles are already smaller in size, and those smaller particles we are further reducing to further more smaller size, and which is already in powder form, which are reducing to the more less particle size in the powder. So this may also result in formation of nanoparticles also. So the different instruments which are used for micro grinding are the colloidal mills, then disc mills, jet mills. These are used for the micro grinding. And we have new addition over here. The ultrasonication process can also be used for micro grinding purpose. Then ultrasonic disintegration application. Now ultrasonic disintegration application is nothing but integration of fibrous or cellulosic material can be broken down into the fine particles by use of ultrasound. Because the cellulose has walls or wall structure is there, so that wall can be broken by the use of ultrasound. And because ultrasound bubbles, they implode with high temperature and pressure, the walls of the cell, they will break down, and these breaking down of the walls of the cells creates the disintegration of the fibrous material, or it may disintegrate the cellulosic material, or it can disintegrate the cells also. And this can be utilized in the process of fermentation, digestion, and other conversion processes. These we will see in detail later on. So the next part, ultrasonic cell extraction, is the extraction of enzymes and proteins stored in cells and subcellular particles is an effective application of high intensity ultrasound. So high intensity ultrasound can be used for extraction of cell proteins and enzymes from the microorganisms by application of ultrasound. We require the cell material in a number of pharmaceutical materials. The microorganisms, they are used in pharmaceutical applications, and in these pharmaceutical applications, we require the cell proteins or cell enzymes of the microorganisms to be removed from the cell. For breaking down of the cell wall of that particular cell, we can use the ultrasonication technique to break down the cell wall of the microbial cell, and we can obtain the cellulosic material from the microbial cell. Then the next application is in chemistry, that is ultrasonics in biodiesel. So we shall be dealing with a biodiesel case study in the later stage. So you can attain the conversion of biodiesel of more than 90% if you use ultrasound. So it is again the example of process intensification by using the ultrasound. Then ultrasonic degassing. Degassing is required in liquids because there are trapped gases in the liquids. In case of crude oil also, there are trapped gases and degassing has to be done. So there are different methods for degassing. Either in some cases we may raise the temperature, or you may use ultrasound for degassing purpose. So degassing of the liquids can be done by ultrasonic devices. You may use ultrasonic reactor for purpose of degassing, and the degassing can be achieved by means of application of ultrasound wherever it is required. It is an important process in petroleum processing, degassing. Then ultrasonic reduction of NOx and SOx. So the cars and trucks, they are producing NOx and SOx. So we are having the NOx and SOx responsible for various environmental conditions. The NOx and SOx are responsible for various environmental conditions, and these conditions, like the acid rains, are created because of the NOx and SOx emissions from the automobile exhaust, then from industries, then from nature also. Certain amount of emission is there during the volcanoes, etc. There is some kind of emission from the nature also. So by conducting the process of desulfurization, in case of fuels, if you conduct the process of desulfurization, because desulfurized fuel or desulfurized crude is often desired by the refiners. The refiners prefer desulfurized crude, or the refiners which are into the business desulfurization, because is preferred by the refiners. Refiners require desulfurized crude. So that is why desulfurization has to be carried out with the crude oil. Then two-stage anaerobic digestion. In case of anaerobic digestion is nothing but the process of formation of biogas, and it may be either a single-stage digester, or you may use two-stage digester for the purpose of digestion of the sludge to form the biogas. Now we are using currently, the heaters are used and mixers are used along with the tanks which are used for digestion. So along with the heaters, if you use the sonication equipment, then the heater will be eliminated from the digestion tank, and the mixer will also not be required in the digestion tank. Single instrument like a sonication instrument should suffice the purpose of size reduction also, and it will suffice the purpose of heating also. So both the purpose will be solved, and because the size reduction is uniform in case of sonication, the size reduction of the material will be uniform in nature, and because of the uniformity uniformity of size reduction, the biogas product is much better in quality, and it is much better, or it is generated early stage. Normally, for a biogas to become operable after you put all the organic material into the digester, in order to make the biogas digester operable, you have to give some 8 to 10 days. After 10 days, small quantities of gas will start to form. So if you use a sonication probe, then this will take place much earlier. Maybe after 3-4 days, the gas formation will start, because the sonication process releases the cellular material into the biogas system. Whatever cells are there, those cells are split, cell walls are split by the sonication process, and the cell material is released into the biogas system. And because of the release of cell material into the biogas system, the biogas formation takes place at a very early stage. You know, biogas, there are two organisms which are responsible for the formation of biogas. The acid forming bacteria are there, and the methane forming bacteria are responsible for production of biogas. Biogas is a mixture of methane, some trace quantities of hydrogen sulfide, and some trace quantities of carbon dioxide. So biogas is formed at an early stage when we use the ultrasonication process. I have referred one paper. According to that paper, the following advantages have been listed by the researchers, and according to them, the ultrasonics, the application of ultrasonics to the processing of sludge and waste stream can achieve various results, such as increase in biogas yield. As I have told you, the yield of biogas is increased. Then anaerobic decomposition is improved. That means the decomposition will take place at an early stage. As I have told you, it will start earlier due to the breaking down of the cell walls of the organic material which is present in the biogas digester, and degassing and flake disintegration will also take place in the digester. So all factors taken together will combine to the improved yield in the biogas formation and improvement in the process. That means the process will take place earlier. The next advantage is that improvement of carbon nitrogen ratio for denitrification. Improvement in the carbon nitrogen ratio for denitrification, and improvement in the sludge thickening. Sludge is generated from every biogas plant, and sludge is found at the bottom of the second stage digester. And this sludge will also be in uniform nature. Particle size will be uniform because of the sonication process. And sonication also improves the dewaterability. The dewaterability of the sludge will be improved. Why? Because of the uniform particle size. If you have a variable particle size, then dewaterability is not very much feasible, because the particle size is not uniform. If you have uniform particle size, then the dewatering of the sludge can be carried out easily. Then reduction in the amount of flocculants. If you are using flocculating agents, then flocculating agents quantity will be reduced for separation of the sludge. If you are using flocculants, then that quantity of flocculants will be reduced. So these are some of the advantages which are there with the sludge digestion process in the by the use of sonication. So we will move on to the food processing industry. In food processing industry, the sonication process is of very much importance. How it is important, that we will see one by one. In food industry, sonication process is used for the following purposes. For extraction of phenolic compounds. We know that the plant tissues, they contain the phenolic compounds. You have to extract the phenolic compounds from the plant tissues, then you can use the process of sonication. Then for extraction of beta-samin from beetroot. Beetroot, we all know, beetroot is containing beta-samin, and if you want to extract beta-samin from the beetroot, then you can extract beta-samin from beetroot by use of ultrasound. The next component present in beetroot is beta-xanthine, so you can extract beta-xanthine also. Then ultrasonic extraction of lipids and proteins from plant seeds such as soybean. From soybean you can extract lipids and proteins by means of ultrasound. You crush the soybean and you take some liquid water and sonicate that particular water, you will get the proteins. So in this manner you can get the proteins from the soybeans. Then cell membrane permeabilization of fruits such as grapes, plums and mango. So these are some of the applications in the food processing industry. Besides these applications in food processing industry, the sonication process may also be used for pasteurization. Pasteurization of food products such as milk can be pasteurized, or disinfection process can also be done by means of ultrasonication. Ultrasonication is also good in infection process and the process of pasteurization. So pasteurization and disinfection can be achieved by ultrasonication process. So most of the time we have lost in fixing the problem. So we will go through the case studies, 2 case studies I've got. So we will go through the case studies in brief. Now the first case study is relating to the biodiesel. Biodiesel, which we have prepared from the waste cooking oil. So biodiesel preparation involves a reaction known as transesterification reaction, where we mix all the ingredients together along with the catalyst. Catalyst is generally NaOH and methanol and the oil, and we get the transesterified product, and the transesterified product is obtained. Now in this picture you see the ultrasonication probe is there, which is inserted into the oil, and all the ingredients are added to the oil. Ingredients we require NaOH, and we require the methanol or ethanol, any of the alcohols, and you put them together in a definite ratio, and then you sonicate the oil. Now here you see, by joining to the probe, there is a temperature probe. So the temperature probe is responsible for measuring the temperature. Now here you get the product after reaction. The reaction has taken place and you have got the product. Now here the product, which is oil, is taken in the beaker. Now here the product has to be washed with the wash water. In order to remove the NOH from the product, we have to wash it with the wash water so that the final separation into biodiesel and glycerin takes place. You see there is the top layer of biodiesel and bottom layer is there of glycerin. So separation of the product takes place into the biodiesel and glycerin. And here you have the final separation into biodiesel and glycerin. The biodiesel and glycerin, they are separated by means of the separating funnel, and the reaction conditions we will go through one by one. And you can see from the reaction conditions, you can see that the conditions which are given for ultrasonication are same as that given for the simple stirring method. In the simple stirring method also we are using the same conditions, and in the ultrasonication method also we are using the same conditions. And a comparison is made between the two, and we found that the ultrasonication method gives a better yield. Now if you see the amount of catalyst is NaOH, and if you see the amount of catalyst, it is varied from 0.5 to 1. Now amount of catalyst taken in grams, it is varied from 1.25 grams to 2.5 grams. And alcohol and the reaction time is 30 minutes for each. Then amplitude is maintained constant at 100. Then frequency is constant, 20 kHz frequency is there. Then probe diameter is 10 mm. And now the yield we are getting is 97.2 in case of 0.5. In case of 0.5 catalyst, percentage of catalyst, then 93 in case of 0.75% of catalyst, and 1% in case of and 90% in case of 1% of catalyst. So we can observe from these that the catalyst, as it goes on increasing, the conversion goes on decreasing with respect to sonication. Now we have got the second case. In the second case, we are having the same parameters. NOH is 0.5%, then 0.75%, then 1%. Then amount of catalyst NOH in terms of grams is 1.25 to 2.5. Then reaction time is same, 30 minutes. Then mechanical stirring RPM is 4000. RPM 4000 is quite high. You get RPM of 4000 in motor vehicles. So it is a very high RPM with respect to a stirrer. So though the RPM is very high, the conversion is not that much. If you see the conversion for 0.5, you are getting 82% conversion. For 0.75% NOH, you are getting 86% conversion. And for 1% NOH, you are getting 88% conversion. So though the stirring RPM is very high, you are not getting very high conversion. And here is a comparative table for conversion between the stirring method and the ultrasonication method. In the stirring method, for 0.5% NaOH, you get 82% conversion, whereas in ultrasonication you get 97.2% conversion. For 0.75% NaOH, you get 86% conversion by stirring method and 92% conversion by ultrasonication method. In case of 1% NaOH, you get 88% conversion in case of stirring method and 90% conversion in case of ultrasonication method. So this is one case study. Directly to the second case study. And we will conclude with the case study. Due to the limitations in time, we will move on to the second case study directly. So, like disinfection is there, and of course the treatment of water, that is wastewater, by the process of sonication. In case of water industry is facing, it is polluted and the water cannot be treated by the conventional ETP plants. Conventional ETP plants do not have any advanced wastewater treatment techniques incorporated into them. But in future, we will require wastewater treatment plants which will be having the advanced oxidation processes incorporated into them, because unless we have the advanced oxidation processes into the wastewater treatment plants, the treatment of water will not be complete, because the water is containing a number of pollutants in the form of pharmaceuticals, drugs, etc. And already the effects of these are being visible in case of people having different diseases. Cancer is one of the main diseases which is caused by different kinds of pollutants. Now, in the case study, I have taken the acetyl salicylic acid, which we call as Disprin. The Disprin tablet is there. We call the Disprin as aspirin, and the pharmaceutical name of aspirin is acetyl salicylic acid. So acetyl salicylic acid was taken, and it was sonicated. It was taken in different concentrations. Now you see this observation table. Now the observation table has been shown for one particular concentration. So one particular concentration is 700 milligrams per liter. That means 700 milligrams in 1 liter. And the sonication has been done at different amplitudes, 10, 20, 30, 40, up to 100. And other parameters are constant. The sonication time is constant, and other parameters are also constant. For same constant parameters, we get the difference in the titration endpoint. That means the endpoint goes on reducing from higher side 1.2 highest to the 0.3 ml lowest. 0.3 ml we are getting at 100 amplitude, That means the energy transferred at amplitude 10 is less. That means the process is getting more intensified towards the end. Same we have observed in case of biodiesel. In case of biodiesel also, it is an example of process intensification in the chemical process industry or fuel industry by use of ultrasonication. Now here also we are having an enhanced rate of reaction as the amplitude of sonication goes on increasing. That means there is higher transfer of energy, and even if you observe the temperatures are increasing from amplitude 10 to amplitude 100. That means the energy transferred is more in case of the amplitude 100, which is the max amplitude, and due to that more transformation takes place and the endpoint reduces in case of acetyl salicylic acid. Now you can calculate the endpoint by using NaOH titration with the help of phenolphthalein as indicator. So I think I will stop over here. It is almost 14:55. Should I stop over here? Bhagat sir? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Should I conclude, sir?
Yes, sir. No problem. If the contents are over, then we can conclude. No problem, sir.
No, sir. I am almost in the middle now.
So we have
So
a second
it will take time.
at 3 o'clock. So if you can conclude, it will be better.
Yeah. That's what I'm asking for, because it will take time. I'm almost halfway through. Half of my slides are there. So, okay.
So it will be better if you conclude.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you, Patil sir, for inviting me for your SCTP.
संजय पवार काय म्हणले तुमच्या त्या पट्टीपर्यंत सुद्धा होतंय ते.
Thank you, Bhagat sir, for inviting me for your SCTP. And thank you, participants, for listening to me very attentively for such a long period. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Now I request Professor. Just if any participant is having any question, please ask. Question is there, sir. Kedkar, sir. One question is there.
Yes,
Is
sir.
degasification time dependent? Is time dependent?
Degasification.
Whether degasification is time dependent?
Yes, depends on time, sir.
Any more question? Thank you, sir. Now I request Professor E.B. Danke, sir, to deliver vote of thanks.
So on the behalf of organizing committee and chemical engineering department of PUBIT Sangli, I would like to express our sincere thanks towards the Dr. Satish Khedkar sir for delivering elaborate presentation on the sonication and its application in chemical industries. He had highlighted few topics under his presentation like mechanism of sonication, sonication systems, application in different industries, and also designing of the sonicator reactors. I hope all the participants are happy and satisfied with this presentation or this session of Dr. Satish Khedkar sir. So thank you sir, thank you very much Dr. Satish Khedkar sir for your session.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now we'll start our third session at 3:15.